to the Village Vision podcast, where community, collaboration, and care converge. I'm Dr. Crystal Morrison, and I'm honored to be your host on this incredible journey. As a firm believer in the power of a united village, I'm thrilled to bring you inspiring stories, research, and projects that break down barriers in child and family care. Through heartfelt conversations with experts, advocates, and those with lived experiences, we'll showcase the transformative impact of collective support. So join me on the Village Vision podcast as we explore the remarkable collaborations that lead to better outcomes, foster a sense of community, and inspire action to improve care for ourselves and everyone around us. On today's episode, I'm here with Suzanne Burns. Suzanne is an author, speaker, coach, and founder of nonprofit ministries. Foundation House is a maternity home for women in crisis pregnancies, and as of today's recording, Foundation House has housed over 100 mothers and served over 500 mothers through non-residential support services. She also leads Be Charity Wise. Her and her team have trained hundreds of organizations on how to implement practical tools to serve the least of these more effectively. So welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So I have, as I mentioned, Suzanne, I've really been looking forward to our conversation today because I really feel like your work really epitomizes our work here at the Pulse. And so, you know, how your lived experience shaped you and the way that you're serving today. And just, I think the fact that it gives you credibility, quite frankly, that you have lived in their shoes, that you do understand how difficult it can be as a young mother. I think that I definitely want to talk a little bit more about where the Foundation House and Be Charity Wise is today.
So at first, I really anticipated that my first few clients were going to be like me. You know, I had some job skills. I had some family support, although they were still multiple states away, and I also had some college education, and that's just not who the Lord sent. So almost right away, I'm getting clients from the inner city, from such dramatically different backgrounds than I was used to, and it became very apparent very quickly that seeing the clients an hour every 3 weeks, as I was used to, and living with them was vastly different.
Yeah.
And so at first it was very frustrating. What do I do? How do I care for these clients in wisdom? And we very quickly realized that we had knowledge that other people needed in order to serve wisely and serve effectively. And so Be Charity Wise was really born out of a desire to help other people learn more quickly what we had learned. I always feel very responsible that if I know something, if I have something, if I have access to something, it's my responsibility to share it with those when I realize that they don't. So for me, Be Charity Wise was birthed as a ministry to other ministries, whether churches or other nonprofits, and also, you know, kind of with the hope that could become a stream of steady revenue for the ministry as well, help us continue to serve these women. Yeah, I think for volunteers especially, I think what it does, so for me, the easiest place to help volunteers and staff, you know, staff that are lacking in knowledge also, is to understand the ACE scores, and which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, for those in the audience that aren't familiar with it. And it's a scale from 0 to 10 of the number of lived experience, traumatic events a person has experienced prior to the age of 18. So for most of our volunteers, their ACE scores are somewhere in the 0 to 2 range. Staff tend to be in the 3, 4, 5 range.
First interface with the community, and it came very much from a point of judgment as
Yeah.
opposed to grace and compassion.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've always struggled with because, different people that I know have really separated themselves in a big way from the reality of the world. And they
Yeah.
tend to separate themselves and sit up on a pedestal of judgment. And it, it's really it's really frustrating. I'm sure it's
Yes.
frustrating to you, but I see how what you're doing with Be Charity Wise is something that can really help people see from a different perspective and
Yeah.
really understand the complexities of other people's lives through a lens of trauma, and
Yeah.
be more compassionate, have more, grace, and at the same time volunteer in a way that is actually being helpful and effective and supporting of that person
Yeah.
as opposed to more damaging and judgmental. So I'm just
Yeah.
so excited about the work you're doing with Be Charity Wise and think that there's so many people and organizations out there that can benefit from this training.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate it.
Those amazing resources. And for those of you who are listening, we will also have Suzanne's contact information in the show notes. But one of the things I also want to share is that, Suzanne is a speaker, a coach, and an author and a trainer. And so if you're thinking about how you can really enable your organization, your ministry with the right tools to, again, serve the least of these in a more effective way through compassion, through grace, I really encourage you to reach out to Suzanne and her team. I think it's an amazing opportunity to really transform the lens of church members so that they can serve more effectively. Well, Suzanne, thank you. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us today on the Village Vision podcast. I'm grateful that you shared your story, and also your experience with our listeners.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Village Vision podcast. I hope you found inspiration and valuable insights from our conversation today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, leave a review, and share all the things. Thank you. Thank you again for being part of the Village Vision podcast. Take care, and let's keep shining a light on the power of community, collaboration, and care.